Those who had concerns about the release of the memo is Liza Goitein, who is at the Brennan Center for Justice at New York University School of Law. Liza, thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
What is your main concern about the release of this memo?
My main concern actually relates to what wasn't released. The memo itself contains some allegations that on their own really don't prove anything. There are other facts that would absolutely need to be in the public record to have any way to evaluate what's in this memo. And the Democrats in the House had a counter memo that supposedly laid out those facts. We don't know, we haven't seen them, but supposedly it provided context. And there was an absolutely partisan vote in the House Intelligence Committee on partisan lines to release the memo that had the facts that the Republicans wanted to release and to suppress the facts that would have given some context to that memo. So this is not transparency we're seeing here.
But nevertheless, yes. Doesn't the FBI have a case to answer?
Doesn't the memo present a case? I'm afraid it doesn't, because basically it tells us what we already know. I agree actually with Congressman Hurd on that point, that there's nothing in this memo we didn't already know. But it sets forth the allegation that the Justice Department used the so-called Steele dossier when it applied for a warrant to conduct surveillance of Trump aide Carter Page. And the Steele dossier was at some point funded by the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee. That's it. That's the scandal. And I guess the Justice Department allegedly didn't tell the court about this. That doesn't...
But that's important, though, isn't it? Because if that is the case, then the fact that they're using dubious methods to investigate their suspects or their targets, doesn't that then undermine the broader Russia inquiry?
Well, there's a pretty critical difference between saying they're using dubious methods and they're using a source who was funded in part by the Clinton campaign. It doesn't naturally lead from one to the other. And one of the questions that we don't know is what other indicators were there of reliability for this document? Were there other reasons to trust this document apart from who funded it? You have to understand that informants always come with their own agendas and biases. Informants are often paid. So this is not an unusual thing. And how significant it is, whether there's a duty to inform the court, depends very much on case-by-case details that we don't know from this memo.
Are we ever going to find out?
We're not, is my guess, or at least not for a long time, because it's classified. Whether it's properly classified or whether it's completely harmless information that was classified like the Nunes memo, we don't know that. But the person who controls declassification controls what gets released and can spin the story however they want to spin it. It's a flagrant abuse of the classification system, but I'm sorry to say that it happens every day.
Liza Goitein, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.